So there's actually lots of little interesting moments that happen as you're going through here.
I was gonna say, yeah, let's take a look at it.
I mean, we've been
Come on,
building up
TV.
to this point all night. Don't tell me you've not been looking forward to it. I know I have. Surprise! Everyone always said I should be in television. You don't want to miss this, really. It'll be a blast. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, someone actually told me once this scene is completely different if you don't beat up the guys in the room before.
Why didn't you stop?
I don't believe them, but
Me? It was your plan, you goofy clown. I'm sending you back to the ventriloquist where you belong. You had to spoil everything, didn't you? Beating up Bane, feeding Scarecrow to Croc, slapping around Harley, my hobby, by the way, and ruining all my lovely venom plants.
It's over, Joker.
Over? Why, my dear delusional Dark Knight, it hasn't even begun.
There's something profoundly sad about the fact that there's security.
yeah, it's a little dark touch to it.
Only a little. Especially considering... Forgot about the Harley reference.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
So, unlike a lot of other Batman stuff, this game actually admits there being a little bit of abuse going on between old Harley and Joker.
Yeah, and there's a special irony too to Paul Dini, creating Harley and making these references. I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with it, but not significantly. I will point out though that there's that beautiful throne that he's sitting on.
I mean, the throne of mannequins?
The throne of mannequins. Sort of interestingly invokes Scarecrow's throne in No Man's Land. Which, if you guys know The Dark Knight Rises, there's also a reference to that throne in Dark Knight Rises, where you see Crispin Glover. I like that you make the two monsters attack each other. Ah.
Basically, Scarecrow does real well in the apocalypse.
Yeah. We're all mad here, guys. We're all mad here.
Bam!
Well, bam!
So obviously we're coming up on the end of the game for what it's worth. And any last minute stuff you want to talk about before we get into the falling action of this all?
Well, I think it's really interesting to consider, we started by talking about the Arkham Asylum book, Serious House and Serious Earth, and sort of thematically what we've been going through the whole time in terms of...
Bats. You deserve a prize. Your old pal, Commissioner Gordon. Say, he looks all run down. Let's pep him up. No!
Batman! Get away!
Here we go. We're gonna have some fun now, kiddies. You're trying to resist a change. That's not fair. Come on, get in. So, you want to play hardball, bats, do you? Your call. Pickle, pickle. Oh! Oh, you're ruining my big night! Months of planning down the crapper. I just wanted to bring down your grim facade and for once let you see the world as I see it. Giggling in a corner and bleeding. But you've denied me even that. I have nothing to live for. So...
Arkham Asylum remains under lockdown, its staff at the mercy of the rampaging inmates. Just 10 minutes ago, we received this taped message.
Greetings, Gotham! Joker here! Arkham is mine! Soon I'll unleash madness untold onto the streets of Gotham. But first, direct your eyes to the rooftops and witness the final destruction of your dear Dark Knight.
We've been circling the tower since the... Wait, there! Joker is making his move!
Showtime, Batman! Let's give the room something to talk about. Two freaks in a fight to the death. And for one night only, please welcome our special guest referee, Ooh, come on! Change! Get crazy. It's the only way to beat me. You know you want to. Never. You wasted the antidote on yourself? Now that's funny. Hysterical! But you still spoil my fun, and for that, I'll paint Arkham with your blood. Let's get ready to tango! I'll rip you apart for all Gotham.
So obviously a lot just happened.
A lot just happened.
Excuse me. In you come, boys.
And I think the sort of the weird thing about this is like this is a very typical video game structure, in terms of like, and now you have a scarier villain and he's bigger than you.
So this was actually a point in the game where I had a bit of a moment of I think I'm done. Like, I really wanted the final fight to be Joker. I don't know, maybe a stealth mission or something, but I got this.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about this after the fight, but this was maybe in many regards the biggest letdown for me in the game as a whole. Because it felt so out of place for Batman villainy, if that makes
That's
sense.
what I was about to say, is that I think that it's so out of character. Not even for Batman, but for Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, Joker is sort of defined by his refusal to actually hurt, to actually kill Batman.
Well, I think that's a difference that this game has that the comics don't. I think Joker in this game does, to a certain extent. He wants to get the last laugh, and then he wants Batman gone, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that to me their codependence is really important.
I have a temporary roommate right now.
Oh,
Forgot to mention that earlier.
hi.
Lil, Chris, Lil.
Nice to meet you. I'm saying hi to a friend in Long Beach. I
Fair enough. Well enough.
I like your shirt. I don't. Oh. Amusement park movie? Oh, wait, yes, I know. We have people in that. Yeah, I knew that. With Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse. Oh, cool.
The internet.
The internet.
It's not just for porn. So where were we?
We were
Joker.
Joker. Yeah. Joker's
Come boys.
I just started Joker.
Cool.
Like, yeah, the notion of Joker being bored of Batman just feels really wrong, like profoundly wrong to me. Yeah, this just feels really wrong.
And maybe it's the fact that I never felt I had to have a Batman. I felt Batman didn't need a boss fight. Like, we had so many big, iconic moments. And I love these brawls. I prefer them much more than the stealth missions. But the stealth missions feel so much more Batman-y, if that makes any sense. And as you may have noticed, the game only actually manages to counter the whole, you know, gargoyle thing effectively once with the bombs. And it never shows up again. We're going to do a full little talk back after we beat the Joker here, so...
Yeah, no, there's this feels profoundly wrong for both the Joker and Batman. I mean, the only thing that looks right is really Commissioner Gordon
being in peril.
Surrounded by amusement park themed stuff, because
of course.
that's how Joker rolls.
Yeah, the setting makes sense. The giant Hulk Joker does not, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's also, I think, I mean, you're a big fan, Charlie, of the way that they did Scarecrow, and I think the thing about Scarecrow from a character design standpoint is that he still feels like himself.
He's still Scarecrow. This is just ridiculous. And the fight itself is kind of ridiculous. The fact I'm pulling Joker off of a ledge just to wail on him for a couple seconds and dodge around.
Why are his ribs sticking out?
Yeah, it's
what is happening right now?
Of the Titan monster designs, it's a cool design. And it almost makes sense, but it really doesn't. As you can see here, I have no fear of Joker in this form. He's just kind of big and stupid. Because I've fought Titans before, and I know how much damage they do.
Well, and I really don't like his... Well, speaking of Batman, I mean, talking about Batman Beyond...
To go way back,
he has this, that mohawk of his, but, like, a lot of the Jokers have sort of very interesting hair.
Yeah.
Jokers with a Z, I should say, from Batman Beyond.
Gang, we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And I think that's my problem, is that they were using a very classic, like, the man who laughed look. And he doesn't look like I don't know how that model becomes this model.
I can take it. I can take anything you throw at me, Bats. You can't beat me. I'm actually going to win. Ready for the next round?
Always.
What?
I'll never let you win. Never.
How that doesn't blow Batman's hand off, I still don't quite know.
Yeah.
Because it obviously damages the armor quite a bit, as you can see.
Yeah, that's super weird.
The GCPD finally has control of the asylum. Doctors are treating the injured, but it looks like it'll take some time.
Ooh.
All super criminals are back in custody. Quite a mess in there. And the venom-enhanced inmates are returning to normal. Though for some, the process can be quite painful.
Dad, how survive. See you tonight, Barbara. Shame about your car. Can I give you a ride?
Thanks, Jim, but I have one on the way.
Get some rest. You deserve it.
Second National Bank was just robbed by Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two
Stay
Face.
safe, Jim.
2 officers down. The suspect is fleeing in their patrol car.
A bat's job is never done, you guys.
It is not. I remember there being something that happens soon, though, like something worth shutting up for. But I could be remembering things wrong. So, that's obviously the end of Arkham Asylum. As I mentioned, we're going to be... I think I mentioned this at least. We're going to be playing all the ones. Obviously, the fourth one got delayed as of this recording. Obviously, Arkham City is next. That's my personal favorite, followed by... that Batman game not made by Rocksteady we're not going to talk about till we get there.
It's Christmas.
I hate it.
We're gonna make sure we get to it at Christmas.
Or something like that.
It's
So-
Christmas themed.
We hope you enjoyed Arkham Asylum with us. So, I'd like to take some time to actually talk about the game as a whole. You've played it, Lil. I've played it. We have obviously very different styles, as you made a note of a couple times, and we have different views on this game. First off, when I played this game, initially it was new. It was like a month or so old, and it really was, oh my god, they finally got Batman right.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely sort of exploded people's brains in a good way, because there really hadn't been. I mean, I would even say it got superheroes right. Like there was something about the idea, because like I remember like the side, like we talked about side scrollers a little
Sure.
bit, and the notion of side scrollers, superhero games. You don't really like if you're Batman and if you're a Batman or you're Spider-Man and you're like swinging around a city in a side scroller.
If
You
it
don't.
feels wrong, it just feels
It just
wrong.
doesn't feel right because like again written by Paul Dini, my love, my life, my soul. Side scrollers don't make you feel heroic, but this game, when because of the dance rhythms, basically,
Yeah.
makes you feel the way that, in theory, being a good martial artist feels, and I think that's something that's incredibly innovative. So, whatever weaknesses the game has from a narrative or a character standpoint, or even from a game design standpoint, ultimately in the end, it's important for that reason.
And the game used the very simplistic controls that have a lot of depth to them in combination with a fantastic animation system and a very... it's called the free flow combat system for a reason. It feels very free flowing, despite actually being surprisingly restrictive if you think about it. It really gives you a good sense of being Batman, which I know nowadays a bunch of people have ripped off this guy. I know I've made fun of a bunch of games on the channel for being Batman combat clones. This really was the first time you had this nice free flowing system that wasn't especially combo heavy, kind of Devil May Cry-ish or something like that. And it felt just fantastic, especially if you're not the best at video games, you're not as combat-centric as other people can be. It really let you feel empowered for a change, which was a nice change of pace, especially for a superhero game where we've been given stuff like the only okay Spider-Man games. They had redeeming features, but never really quite nailed what it would be like to have that level of combat prowess and stuff like that, which was neat. That being said, what made this game my kind of oh my god was how well they nailed the bosses. Like each one felt appropriate. Poison Ivy I had some issues because it's basically just throwing bat-barangs and dodging the entire time. You could almost do that entire fight with one hand if you tried hard enough.
It reminded me of there's a really weird Lord of the Rings video game where the Watcher, it's the same thing as the Watcher in the water. You like shoot arrows at it.
That's actually the movie game, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Because it's Orlando Bloom, and he's like, oh no, the Watcher in the water.
And to my point, like, every other boss fight in this game, like, my favorite is Killer Croc. It's such a different type of boss fight. I'm sure I said other favorite boss fights in the game, and some were more mechanic building, and some were kind of lead-ins to larger enemies.
Well,
but Killer Croc feels fantastically unique, and it's not a straight-out brawl, if that makes any sense. It feels appropriate.
and I think the other thing is the atmospherics in this game are so incredible. From from the dialogue that Paul Dini wrote just for those goons, those interchangeable goons.
Yeah.
To the colors that you don't see as much because of detective mode.
I'm real sorry about that, but it's how you have to play this
That's how
game.
you have to play the game, yeah. But the colors, and I think the reason I thought of that as we talked about Killer Croc was that fight was scary. That fight is genuinely disturbing.
It is nerve-wracking.
And I was saying that as we were doing that, I was like, I am worried about you. And I think that's the real sign of a good game, is that like when you're not playing a horror game and you're concerned about whether your character's going to die.
Yeah, and that for me is what makes the final boss fight with the Joker such just an impossibly fathomably let down. It just, we mentioned this while we were having the fight, it feels out of place. Like, nowhere in Batman lore is there Joker takes drugs and goes super powered and fights Batman. Like, as much as I might enjoy that story, it doesn't exist for a reason.
Well, and that's why it's weird that they sort of, to be lewd about this, blow their load on Bane so early. Because if there was a person to do that, it would have been Bane.
It's a bad boss fight, though, too. The
Yeah.
Bane one... Bane's one of the few characters that actually shows up in all of the games to date. I'm not spoiling anything by saying that, I don't think. And except for the one game I don't like so much, Bane's more or less a one-trick pony. The fight with Bane is more or less the fight with Bane in all of the games, which is not a compliment, that's just limitations of some of the mechanics of this game.
It's Titan
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, and also, the Bane fight you will repeat 5 or 6 times in the game with the Titan enemies, and they're more fun to fight than Bane is. Because there's more going on, which I guess you could say Bane introduces you to the whole concept of how that mechanic works, but just, as Lil said, they kind of blow their load with the whole souped-up super enemy. And the fact that Joker's worse at it than Bane, despite maintaining all of his sanity and all his mental facets, the fact he can still talk really while doing it, and he's still kind of boredly walking around, talking to the helicopter, sending his minions after you.
Well, that was actually my bigger problem, was that, like, Mark Hamill is he's a brilliant voice actor. And
Yeah.
I was like, did you really not, like, think of another Joker like a Joker
There couldn't
Venom
be steroided
voice?
up Joker voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I believe he can do that. He is Luke Skywalker. He
Yeah.
can do that.
He's been a voice of a bunch of characters you probably know and love. He's almost, in some regards, more famous for his voice acting. He's more respected for it than Star Wars occasionally.
That is BS. Luke Skywalker all the way.
I'm not saying it's Luke Skywalker's bad. I'm saying he's more respected for his voice acting.
Luke Skywalker. Help me out here, ladies.
Whiny emo teenagers save the galaxy, apparently. That's what women want.
Maybe you just want both. Maybe it's okay to want both. But speaking of seeing Warner Brothers' name up here, considering sort of where Warner Brothers is in terms of adapting Batman right now, this is also really interesting in terms of where it came within the timeline.
Well, and to back it way up to when we were talking about the book, I was really happy they started off the Batman franchise with a very well respected but a less well known story, if that makes sense. Everyone knows the story of Batman versus whoever. As much as I think the Arkham Asylum story is very iconic and a big deal in certain circles, it's not super well known. You will come across people that are Batman fans that have never read it. And the fact that was the basis for this game, I think, was a good touch. And someone that obviously knew the source material enough to go, maybe we should pick the source material that's actually game appropriate, if that makes sense. That gives you a sense of atmosphere and can work with game mechanics. And I don't know, the fact they didn't just go for a stereotypical open world Batman fights the cops and robbers system was nice for the first game. Moving to the second game, I'm kind of glad they brought in more of the Batman savior of some type of city system into it. But for the first story out, the confined Castlevania-style backtracking, not quite detective, but more problem-solving aspect felt nice to me. I'm not sure quite what you thought when you first played it, though.
Well, I think the detective mode definitely improves as you move through the game.
It really couldn't get any worse.
Yeah.
Except for an Origin, which we'll talk about when we get to that game.
And I think that's my problem, is that it's cool to feel like you're Batman and you're fighting people, but I think he is the greatest detective in the world. Like, he's not the greatest martial artist in the world. There are other people that are better at martial arts than him, but he is the detective. That is what Ra's al Ghul calls him. So let him be that. Let him do that. And I think that once you start to get into the later games, they start to really think about it that way and be proud of the whole legacy of the character, which also includes Joker's weirdness and Batman's intelligence.
So obviously the Scarecrow's alive.
How's about a little fire, Scarecrow?
So obviously that's it. We've played the game. Hope you enjoyed it. As I said, we'll be doing more of these. With that being said, I'm Charlie. She's
Lillian?
And thank you for joining us for Anthropology Presents Arkham Asylum.
Hope you like the bat butt.